Last week on the Al Nicoletti Show, the legend Jonathan Duong to the show. Without further ado, let's bring him on. John, there he is. What have you been working on in your business since the last time we've had you on the show?
As you know, we're still doing our infill lots in the state of Florida, and we're actually expanding our business to North Carolina and Alabama as well, just trying to copy and paste our systems in different areas. Our main marketing strategies are SMS and direct mail. We kind of just cross-test and keep track of our KPIs, and then we kind of just double down on what works and making sure that everybody that's a part of your team knows the part that they play.
100%. I mean, sometimes it's not the deals that you're getting wrong, but it's also sometimes the deals that you're getting right. And how did you get it right?
I noticed that most of the headache deals that I have are the smaller deals. So I'm like, why not go after the ones that make sense? But I incorporate both. So I have volume plays where they might be 5 to 20,000 coming in. And then, of course, our probate deals we like to work on, and just higher price lots as well.
And I mean, you know, if tonight you found a deal off of your CRM and it ended up being probate, I guarantee you, John, your head would go from where it is to way closer on the screen. Let me see this deal. What's going on with this one? Because if it's probate, it could be a big deal. So,
yeah. That's part of the journey, man. The things that we're scared to do, we got to have the courage to go ahead and go through it. And then, honestly, if you pass it up, somebody's going to close the deal and solve the problem. So it might as well be you, right? So, you know, you got to get with the professionals, like you said, bro.
You're the man. We love seeing you grow. We love seeing what you're doing, and we're all watching and cheering you on, brother. You keep going.
I appreciate you, brother. I don't tell you thank you enough, and it was just crazy. So I recommend anybody that wants to get around the right people to definitely try to attend the family mastermind, and then, of course, probate. You know, my man Al is the go-to.
Man, I appreciate you so much, John. And we're back for another episode, everybody. If you want more content like this, scan the QR code at the top of the screen. And if you missed any of that episode from last week, you got to go back and check out all the content on it. There's always a lot of value dropped from the guests that come on the show that you do not want to miss. And if you want to find out more information on probates, quiet titles, all the messy things, who doesn't want to learn more about probate? You want to get on the YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, find us on Facebook. There's tons of content always dropping there. And tonight, I am super excited to bring back another legend that's been on the show, Bob Bluhm, for the summer series. This is going to be great. We're going to dive in on what Bob's been working on and some of the things in LLC and beyond. And I'm excited to bring him back because Bob's episode, from those that remember last time, filled with golden nuggets on LLCs and land trusts. And you can learn so much from somebody that's been in the game like Bob for more than 30 years. As a lawyer, you can learn from these people, right? You want to learn from the best in the game, and Bob is one of the best in the game. So I'm excited to bring him on tonight. And I got my pen and paper. I'm ready to rock this thing. So let's do it. Hey, everybody. My name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida. And welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their communities that educate, entertain, and inspire all things on Florida real estate and beyond, no matter what market we're in. Whether we're in the Florida market, the Georgia market, the Ohio market, or we're getting into land, wholesaling, Airbnbs, flipping, you name it, we want to bring on the best guests that can provide value to you out there on how you can take your company to the next level. On our show today, this is the summer series, and we're rolling with it, where we bring on back the best guests that we've had on to talk about what's going on in their industry. And we're bringing back Bob Bluhm, the legend attorney that gets into asset protection. And I love Bob. Every time Bob and I see each other at Family Mastermind or any other events, or whether it's on the lives that we do, there's always so much energy, and Bob is filled with knowledge, filled with education. And he is a lawyer that has been practicing 20, 30 years in the business and knows so much about what's going on in our industry. So we're so happy to welcome him back. So without further ado, let's welcome him back to the show. Bob, there you are, my friend. Welcome back.
Great to see you, Al. How you doing?
All good. And I'm super excited to hear what you've been working on in the last year or two since we've had you on the show. And just got to say, welcome to the summer series. We're honored to have you. And Bob, what has been going on since the last time you've been on the Al Nicoletti show?
Wow, a lot of things going on. We're restructuring a lot of people. We're helping people get their assets better protected. We're rearranging where they hold title to the real estate and protecting personal assets as well, setting up trusts for estate planning purposes. And so it's been a busy time. A lot of things going on. A lot of people getting their house in order. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm sure there's been so many different kinds of changes in the LLC laws that have taken place over the last 2-3 years with the beneficial interest changes and what's been coming down with that from the courts. Talk to us about some of the changes that you have been seeing in the LLC world and how it can really affect investors and real estate professionals doing their business.
Well, it really can because Wyoming created the first LLC in 1977, way back then, but nobody had any idea how an LLC was going to be taxed because the IRS hadn't ever seen a creature like an LLC before. And so it took a while many years, in fact, for the IRS to determine that you could actually tax an LLC one of four different ways. It can be taxed as an S corporation, a C corporation, a sole proprietorship, or as a partnership. Once that was determined, all states adopted LLC laws over a period of about 10 years. And by 1997, all states had LLC statutes. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is that there's a difference between statutory law and common law. Common law is made by the courts, statutory law is made by the legislature. So we have these laws on the books, but there was very little common law. In other words, it takes a long time for a case to percolate and to find its way to a court, and then for the court to finally rule on that case. And you know how long a lawsuit can take: 3, 4, 5 years. So it took a long time for case law to develop. So in the early days, in the early 2000s, et cetera, in that time period when a lot of people were forming LLCs, it was the wild west. In other words, there was no law. You could do anything you wanted to, basically, with an LLC. And people got that in their heads. In other words, the idea was it's less formal than a corporation. You don't have to do this and that that you do have to do with a corporation. That has all changed because now we do have case law, and it's taken a long time. But what the courts have decided is that you've got to observe the same type of corporate formalities with an LLC that you had to do with a corporation: minutes, resolutions, annual meetings, etc. These are called the corporate formalities, and that's what people are missing at this point with an LLC. They still think it's the wild west out there, and it's not. The courts have tamped it down, and we've got to really be able to observe those formalities and follow what the courts are saying.
And what do you see a lot of investors doing with their LLCs in terms of which of those categories they select? Which would you say is some of the most common among the industry?
Well, it depends on what they're doing. So in other words, wholesalers and flippers are producing earned income, active income, and they would typically want to have their LLC taxed as an S corporation. That's the kind of business that produces a good or service. On the other hand, those who are buying rental properties, buy and hold properties, typically are going to want to have an LLC taxed as a partnership. And there are lots of reasons we could go into, deep tax reasons for that, but there are different tax classifications for different types of real estate activity.
Got it. And Bob, one thing that I found really interesting over the last 2 years was understanding what qualifies to be a business write-off through the LLCs versus what's personal. And I learned a lot about that through the bookkeeping process. What's the one thing you've learned when it comes to understanding the write-offs with the LLCs versus the personal side?
You've really got to have a business purpose for the write-off. That's the real key. And so you've got to, and it needs to be primarily the business purpose. So as long as you can establish a legitimate business reason for making that expenditure, then that becomes a tax deduction to the business. So much better.
Yeah.
And then Al, you want to document it. In other words, keep the receipts. You want to be able to prove that you made the expenditure during that time and for the business purpose.
Yeah. A lot of people think that you can just run everything through the business, and you got to be careful with that.
No.
Yeah. You got to be careful with that. You got to make sure what's personal is personal, what's business is business. And a lot of people think you can write off everything. So you got to make sure you get with the CPA, you get with the bookkeeping team, and you work with them. And I love, I've really enjoyed having bookkeepers on my team, just because I'm able to categorize what's what, and what's going on. I think a lot of people miss that, Bob. They do.
And Al, that's another aspect of an LLC that people miss, and which in the beginning was not a requirement way back in the wild west days. Now courts are actually requiring that you have books, profit and loss statements for the LLC. Why? Because it's a business, and real businesses have books. And a lot of times, another thing, I'll run into people who say, well, I've got all these LLCs. Do I really have to have a bank account for every LLC? And the answer is, yeah, real businesses have bank accounts. And so the real issue is you don't want that LLC to be disregarded by a court. In other words, we're not talking about tax disregarded. For those who know what I'm talking about, we're talking about piercing the corporate veil. So in other words, we don't want the plaintiff to be able to walk into court and say, listen, Al Nicoletti didn't treat his LLC like a real business. He didn't take it seriously, so why should I? And I want the court to ignore the fact that Al has an LLC, which is designed in the first place to protect your personal assets. And when they pierce the corporate veil, now they can take your personal assets.
Got it. And Bob, tell us what do people think they knew about LLCs, but they probably don't know? What is something that you can bring to the forefront about the LLC industry that people just get wrong?
Well, it's this notion that, and it's all the advertising that you hear, and I'm not going to name names, of course, but this notion that you can go online, you don't know anything about the law, you don't know anything about an LLC, and you can fill out a little form that takes you 5 minutes, and you can pay maybe $300 or $400, and you've got an LLC out it pops. You don't have any idea what you just filled out. You didn't know why you filled it out a certain way. You didn't know why it was manager managed or member managed. You didn't know why who the members were, et cetera, et cetera. There's a real checklist. There are 25 different types of LLCs. And when people think, well, it's just a generic LLC, I'll just set it up. It's got to be set up according to the purpose that you want it to accomplish. And so, this notion that you can spend 5 minutes setting up an LLC, and that's going to defeat a team of seasoned plaintiffs' lawyers who've been in the business for years and years, and they know every trick in the book. It's not going to work. It's kind of like you believe in fairy dust. It won't work.
Yeah. Well, Bob, you have so much knowledge when it comes to the LLC world and land trusts. I mean, we haven't even talked about land trusts. I think my all-time favorite moment about Bob and land trusts, when it take me back to 2021 Family Mastermind, when you did that presentation talking about the different types of land trust laws per state, and which ones had strong ones and which ones had weak ones. And I still remember the map that you put up there. And, if anybody is looking into understanding more about those LLCs and land trusts, Bob is such a wealth of knowledge with this kind of stuff that you want to follow and focus on what he's getting into with this. This is a whole other world with protecting your assets for sure. Now, Bob, what's making this summer series so special are the questions that we haven't even presented you. We didn't even give these to you before we aired. So I have a couple questions for you on your operations and growth, some insider tips, risk management, and trends. And so I really want to start with the topic of operations and growth. So Bob, how have you scaled your firm over the past few years, and what have been the biggest levers for growth?
Wow, Al. That's a great question. We've gotten great people, first of all. The quality of your people makes a huge amount of difference. And then we have also infused everyone with the company culture. And the company culture is critical because that is a company, that is a culture of service to our clients, making sure that when a client has a problem, we're here to solve the problem. That's what we do. We solve problems. That's what you do. You solve people's problems, and that's why people pay you. And so we've inculcated a culture of immediate response. Get to that problem, solve the problem. Don't leave the client hanging. Make sure that they are happy. They've got a great client experience. That's number one. From that flows more and more referrals. We have incredibly happy clients who then refer their friends to us and say, these guys know what they're doing. They're the ones you want to talk to. So that has people, processes, and culture.
Yeah, 100% on culture. I mean, you got to that starts at the top, right? That starts with you, and then that trickles down to your team. And once you've developed that culture, that is something that shines on the clients, and the clients can see. It's almost like confidence, right? They can see, and they feel comfortable and safe with going with you as that representation. And
That's
I
right.
love what you said about the great client experience. So customer service in my law firm is everything. We
That's
want to
right.
provide the excellent 5-star, 6-star service to clients, because we know that when we do that repeatedly, it keeps on giving, right? And we want more and more of the client to come back, and we care about the clients, we care about the people that we work with. And so once you've had that great customer service, that great client experience, that's where it translates to the word of mouth. And word of mouth is really the most powerful referral source, because you can do all the marketing you want. You can do all the videos, you can do all the social media posts. And I mean, we do in the law firm all the time. We do the show, the micro, the probate videos. But at the end of the day, it comes down to when somebody is coming to you for the service, that's when you got to kill it. And I always have that mindset. So it seems like you have that mindset to do a great
Absolutely.
job and then produce the results. And then it becomes this cycle, and the cycle just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I feel like that's the scaling, right? That's the growth. And then you got to find the right people to plug in to make sure that you can handle the bandwidth. There's so many factors with this. I feel like I can go on a whole rant with this. So
Yeah, but Al, let me mention something. To finding the right people is absolutely key, and we actually do personality tests to find people who have a servant's heart, who have the approach in, they just approach life of, how can I help you? How can I help you? And and that's exactly the person that we hire. So in addition to someone having the skills that they've got to have as well.
yeah. Oh, I mean, believe you me, it's taken a good long while to find great people. And when you have great people, you and I both know, once you find them, you hold on to them,
Yes,
you keep them,
yes.
because you know the power of having a great team around you. And I believe in stability. I believe in that consistency and that stability of having those great people, because that translates into the sustainable growth of your firm,
So
right?
true.
So, Bob, insider tip. All right. So, Bob, how do you stay compliant with both federal and state laws while protecting assets?
Oh gosh, Al, do you mean how does Bob stay compliant, or how do we help our clients stay compliant?
Well, I guess both, right?
Okay, both.
Both
Well,
ways.
we have not because we wanted to, but because clients have requested it. We've developed a maintenance program and a compliance program where we will actually file the annual reports for people. We will do the minutes, resolutions. We will review their books. We will make sure they've got books. We will make sure they're not commingling funds. Commingling funds is a death knell. Do not pay personal expenses out of your business account. And we will review them with them. We will have contact with them 3-4 times a year, checking what major actions has the company take. Have you bought a house? Have you sold a house? Have you done this, that, the other thing? All those things need to be documented in minutes and resolutions. And so we take care of that, because a lot of great real estate investors are just not wired to take care of the details. They're deal makers. They're They're not detail-oriented people, and somebody's got to take care of the details. That's what they hire us to do.
That's great. And having that kind of maintenance compliance program could be fantastic over years and years of growth and scaling, because you don't want that to go to the wayside. You want to
Oh
make
no.
sure you are on your P's and Q's when it comes to having that maintenance and compliance. So that's great, Bob. Now, Bob, with risk management, what is your approach to protecting assets from lawsuits, creditors, or bankruptcy?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, we want to separate operations from assets. We want to make sure if you have a company that is providing some kind of service, then we want to make sure that's isolated so that if that service gives rise to a lawsuit, there really are no assets in that entity to take. We want to isolate then assets to the extent that we can. We want to minimize risk, spread risk by separating assets into separate LLCs. And I'm not suggesting one house per LLC. A lot of people do that. I think that's just not cost effective. Or, excuse me, or we could do one land trust per property. That is cost effective. Land trusts are very, very economical. Excuse me, there's no filing fee, there's no registered agent, there's no annual renewal fee, there's no tax return with a land trust, no tax preparation expenses. Very, very economical to set up multiple land trusts. And in Florida, the beneficiary of a land trust is protected by statute. So it's a very, very good kind of tool.
I'm glad you brought that up again with I feel like it must be the refresher for me of having a different LLC for every property is probably not the best, but having a different land trust name or different land trust for each property sounds ideal. And you've seen this over the course of your career. So that could be a great point for people that are trying to do this on a daily basis with investing. So
Yeah.
yeah. And you talked about land trust a lot on the last go.
And it does depend on the state. Some states are very friendly to land trusts. Other states, while they're legal in all states, some states are simply not that land trust friendly. So it just depends. Florida's a great state for land trusts.
And just off the top of your head, while we're there, what are some that are very friendly? Like, what are a few that are very friendly, and what are a few that are not very friendly land trust states?
Well, California is friendly, Florida friendly. Most states are friendly. Ohio's great for land trusts. Illinois, obviously, you've all heard of an Illinois land trust. Excuse me. On the other hand, states that require full disclosure are not so great for land trusts. Arizona comes to mind, probably most prominently. In other words, the Secretary of State in Arizona wants to know who's the manager, who owns 20%, who owns this. I want to know everything about the person setting up this LLC. In that case, because land trusts are generally created to give you anonymity and financial privacy, that does not jive with the state policy of full disclosure. So full disclosure states not going to be great for land trusts.
Got it. And that's a great refresher and a great observation for people out there that are trying to get into this and want to learn more about which states have greater protection or less protection when it comes to the land trust. Now, Bob, for a trend, what trends are you watching closely in asset protection law, whether it's legislative or in the tech world?
Wow. Well, the most important trend I want to mention is the Corporate Transparency Act and Beneficial Owner Information Report has now finally died a death that it deserved to die a long, long time ago. Now, the problem is, if you were not familiar with the Corporate Transparency Act, it was a law that required that, and regulations that followed it required that you report your information to the Treasury Department about yourself, your company, and who formed the company. It was very intrusive and very burdensome. You only had 90 days in which, after setting up an LLC or corporation or limited partnership, to file this report. If you made a change, you got a new driver's license, you moved, you changed your address, you only had 30 days to update it. And the biggest problem was, if you failed to comply, you could go to jail for a couple of years and become a felon just for failing to even know about it. I mean, it was an incredibly awful law, and this new administration finally killed it, because, they're trying to get rid of regulations. And this was one of those regulations that really burdened small businesses. And of course, large businesses had the lobbyists and they got exempt from the law. It was only the Main Street that had to comply with this law. And so the law is gone, thankfully. And if you were not aware of the law, don't even worry about it. If you were worried about it, don't worry about it anymore. It's no longer the law.
Yeah. And I remember a lot of people were concerned about this. I mean, there were times like at the end of 2024 where people were saying, it's off, it's not happening. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, it's back on. Did you file it? It was like back and forth. Nobody knew where it was going, and everybody had to wait until there was the Supreme Court ruling, and then and the courts were handing things down. And then eventually, like you said, that it looks like it's over, right? It's almost like it's going through probate right now. It's dead.
Just about. Well, here's the problem. The law is still on the books, and there are a couple of bills in the House and Senate to repeal it because, this administration is not going to enforce it. They've gotten rid of the regulations. But if the law remains on the books, a new administration could revitalize it and say, yep, it's on again. So it really needs to be repealed.
Wow. Well, we'll all be watching that as we keep going on in the years, and everybody keeps doing their stuff and investing, and hopefully things stay at bay with it, right?
Let's hope. Yeah.
Let's hope. Bob, as a lawyer, as somebody that's been growing a law firm, where do you see your firm in 3 to 5 years? And ultimately, what is the ultimate vision for your law firm?
Well, the ultimate vision is to really create a fantastic, the same thing I talked about before, and that is to create a less friction in the client experience, looking for pain points that the client might experience and remove those. And in other words, making sure that everybody is well taken care of quickly. And based on that, in 3 to 5 years, the firm will have significantly more people working in the firm. We'll have a bigger client base. And I have every confidence that that will take place. 3 to 5 years will be that much bigger. And we'll have many, many more happy clients.
Yeah, I'll say, Bob, the other day I was on Facebook and I saw, how you get one of your old posts from like 5 years ago? I saw an old post of me sitting at the desk behind the law books, and it's always a great point of reflection to look back on a post like that and think, wow, if you would have told me 5 years ago that we would be in this studio doing this episode right now, having the firm I have and the amazing clients, investors that I work with, I'd be like, wow, it's unbelievable, right? So, it's always so hard to say where things are going to be in 5 years, but you know that it's even going to be more growth, more opportunities, more relationships, more of everything in 5 years. And the ultimate vision, I'm sure for you, is leaving that legacy behind for generations to come that will look up to you as Bob Bluhm was the asset protection guy that laid the groundwork for all of this stuff, right? Yep. And it's always rewarding to know that that's what everybody's doing, is leaving that legacy behind. So, Bob, you've been fantastic. We always love having you on the episodes and the shows, and I don't know if we ever got to tell you. I think I've told you on text or calls, but one of our favorite moments with Bob Bluhm is when Michael curated the land trust micro back like 2 years ago. And I'll never forget, from that one post, it went completely viral. And I mean, there was follows like crazy. I mean, for days, I remember people were following and liking the video, and I think it was the highest viewed one. It was like a 252,000 for us, and that was a lot. It was, and I don't even know what it is today. We'll probably go back and look. It could be higher, but Bob, you are a gem. I really appreciate you for what you do in our community, and love always seeing you at Family Mastermind and connecting lawyer to lawyer. It's always rewarding I feel like it's that mentor-mentee relationship right there, where I feel like you were the boss at one point. I used to work for you, but I mean, we're great friends and colleagues, and we get to bounce ideas and thoughts off each other. So it's always great to see you, Bob. And as I do at the end of my show, I do a segment called Final Words, Final Thoughts. Any lasting impressions you want to leave the audience with, anything that you want to inspire them with, give hope to, or just that one encouragement moment. Final words, final thoughts, Bob Bluhm.
Final words, final thoughts. Don't own properties in your name. Don't operate as a sole proprietor. These LLCs are there to protect you from business risk, protect your personal assets. Get them set up, but get them set up properly. The setup makes a big difference. Having full documentation makes a big difference, and then operating your LLC in a business-like manner. That's what the courts require. That's what we help you with. Al, you're the best.
Thank you, Bob. No, you did a great job, and we love having you on the show, and keep crushing it out there in asset protection. And for anybody that wants to follow Bob and Bob's law firm, you have all of his information on the bottom, assetdefenseteam.com, the phone number. Get in touch with them. You got questions, you want to get into this stuff, find out more, get in touch with Bob. Bob, can't wait to see you soon. Hopefully at another event or conference. If not, get another family mastermind. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
You bet, Al. Take care.
You too, Bob. Take care. All right, everybody. You heard it from Bob Bluhm, the legend asset protection attorney out there that's been doing this for so many years. You want to learn from people like Bob that are doing this every single day. If you missed any of this episode, go back, check it out, scan the QR code at the bottom of the screen. You'll get all the content from, we've had previous guests on for the years, and then all of the stuff on education with probate, quiet titles, all the messy stuff in our world. So scan that QR code, and we will all see you next Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern for the summer series as we continue to roll on. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.